Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we chant once more. We can raise our hands up, calling out for the mercy of Radha Golokanda. Let's loudly call out. Let's chant the Maha Mantra together. Hare Shri Shri Radha Golokananda ki, Hari Naam Prabhu ki, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, His Holiness Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki, Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone. Thank you all so much for joining. I personally know many families who are actually traveling this weekend. But all of you, thank you so much for being here. Welcome. And is there anyone here for the first time? We didn't get a chance to welcome earlier. First time to New Goloka Temple? Okay, everyone's been here before. Thank you. Thank you. So we request everyone, if you can all kindly come forward for the class. We always have devotees walking during the class. So we do want to leave space in the behind so they can come in front. All the Matajis can come a little bit this side, if that's okay. And Prabhus can come a little ahead. All the Matajis a little bit this side. Okay, so our program now is we'll have the talk by His Holiness Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj, and after the talk at 6 p.m. we are going to have the dinner prasadam downstairs in the hall. Also coming up on the calendar, Tuesday is the last day of 2024. So on Tuesday, we will have kirtans in the temple room in the evening from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. So you can come on Tuesday evening. It's a nice way to come at the end of the year and offer our gratitude to Shri Shri Radha Golokananda for everything that's happened in 24. So on Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. kirtans. And on January 1st, we are going to have kirtans throughout the day, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Right? So you can come. That's the best way to start the new year. Be here, spend the whole day. We'll also have lunch prasadam, and there's also going to be our famous Govinda's food court. So there'll be also prasadam stalls outside. So please do join us January 1st, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Kirtans, lunch prasadam, and you can start the new year by having darshan and begging for the blessings of Shri Shri Radha Golokananda. Okay, so that's Tuesday and Wednesday, 31st and January 1st. Okay. So without further ado, let's warmly again welcome His Holiness Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj. His Holiness Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. So thank you very much, Dityanarayan Prabhu. And it's nice to see all of you here in spite of the rain and everything. And so did we make any announcements to see if there are any new people here yet? Oh, you already did that. Okay. So get a little gift when you come for the first time.
Okay. Advait Chandra will give you. What's your name? Connected is contact. First time to New Goloka. Your name is? Vidya. And your family is here? Your daughter? Okay. So let's welcome them. They are from Connecticut. They are visiting New Goloka for the first time. Haribo! Anyone else? First time? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Jaya Radha Madhova Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhova Kunya Bihari Gopi Janabalaba Irivadanati Gopi Janabalaba Idibadadavute Yasudanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasudanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tera Banachare Yamuna Tera Banachati Jayaranpu Madhava Kunya Bihavute Jayaradhu Madhava Kunya Bihagute Gopijana Malaba Giri Baradhari Gopijana Balaba Giri Baradhari Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Banachare Yamuna Tera Banachare Jayo Radho Madhava Kunya Bhikhavute Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bhikhavute Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Raghuva Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Raghuva Rama Raghuva Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo. It's Jai Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravitakacharya, also Teta Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasiti Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Maturadam Ki Jai, Jagadha Sabi Ki Jai, Yamunabai Ki Jai, Shivati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hariyapol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nama Om Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste, Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachani, Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Paschachate Shatarni. So Om Magana Timiranda Shah Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigaraveda Maha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So, today we are going to be speaking about something related with New Year's. So, as some of you know, New Year's is this next week. The American New Year's. Got it. So, what we have this tradition on American New Year's. I'm not talking about getting drunk. Don't worry. There's a tradition. A very pious tradition. And that tradition is we make something called resolutions. It's not a type of prasadam. Or vratas, or vows, or determination, or sankalpas. I mean, there's different names you have for the same thing. So, next year, I am going to behave myself. But it has to be very specific what you're going to do the next year, right? And so this is very much in tune with the Vedic literatures, where you have all sorts of resolutions, and we're going to be talking about this, or vows that are taken by different personalities. So we're going to examine this topic today, the topic of resolutions and vows. But before we examine the topic, I want to talk about categories of not just resolutions, of how to keep or not keep resolutions, or different modes in which one can make resolutions. It's very interesting. So when I'm talking about modes, generally you think that there's 3 modes of nature, right? Which is true. There are 3 modes of nature. But we're going to talk about 4 modes. Something new for all of you. There's a 4th mode of nature? Ignorance, passion, goodness. Huh? What's the 4th mode? The fourth mode is not a mode of nature, of material nature. It's a mode of spiritual nature. It's called Vishuddha Sattva, which is different than the sattva we have in this material world. So we're going to go through a list of different personalities who have taken vows, and we're going to ask you all to determine which of the 4 modes it is. Now, let me read some verses from Bhagavad Gita, which I've written here. So, because you can understand the vow or determination of the person's keeping or not keeping the vow according to the mode of nature they're in. And Bhagavad Gita in the 18th chapter talks about determination, which is the same thing as taking vows or making a sankalpa. Sankalpa actually would be the exact translation for the word determination. So let's read these verses. So give you a little hint. So 1835 in the Bhagavad Gita says, that determination which cannot go beyond dreaming, fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness, and illusion, such unintelligent determination, O son of Pritha, is the mode of darkness. Another explanation of this in the Bhagavad Gita is that one will always procrastinate. Procrastinate means putting things off. Yeah, I'll do it later. Do any of you do that? Don't answer. He does. Oh my God. You're not supposed to self-incriminate. It's against the Constitution of the United States. So, therefore, why do we find people procrastinating sometimes? And sometimes they're not procrastinating, they're very dutiful. They're very timely. Do you have a watch? That's good. So, Prabhupada always had a watch, and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur always carried a pocket watch, so he would be on time and punctual. So why do we find the same person? This is an interesting question before we get onto the other modes. Sometimes they're procrastinating, and sometimes they're not. The reason given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is that when one sees the material energy, one understands it's only the modes are active. That's it. I mean, of course, there's the material energy, but what's instilling people or inspiring people to act, or inspiring animals to act, or inspiring trees to have a certain type of consciousness is just the modes of nature. Just the modes. Unless you're Krishna conscious. Then if you're Krishna conscious, you have some ability to choose and, above the modes of nature. Mamchiyo bhyavicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samati chaitan brahma bhuya kalpate. Otherwise, I should translate that verse. That one who engages in bhakti yoga, mamchiyo bhyavicharena bhakti yogena, and serves Krishna in such a way, sagunan samati chaitan, he overcomes, transcends the modes of nature. and become situated in Brahman, but the supreme Brahman, the supreme personality of Godhead. Otherwise, it's nahi kaschit shanamapi jatutishtatiya karma krit karyate yavasa karma sarva prakriti chagunai. Can anyone give me a translation of that verse? There's a sadhu. You don't know it? Oh my God. Anybody know that verse here? Important verse of Bhagavad Gita. Nahi kaschit shanamapi jatutishtatiya. Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the impulses born of the modes of material nature. No one can refrain from action, even for a moment. So it's the modes. Sometimes you're angry, it's the modes. Now, don't blame the modes. You're yelling at your poor wife or your poor children. And you say, it's just the modes are acting. It's not me. You ever use that excuse? But no, you're responsible. You're choosing the modes. How do you choose the modes? You choose who and what you associate with. Another verse in Bhagavad Gita. Karnam gunasangasha sadasa janma jonishu. That our entanglement is due to guna sangha. That means, you may say, but I'm not associating. Well, what is a mode? I can't see it, But you can see it in terms of its manifestation. For example, not saying that any of you do this, but if you drink liquor, that will put you in the mode of ignorance. And if you eat food that's too hot, spicy, that will make you passionate. And if you eat food that's more healthy, like I eat, then you'll be healthy. But then, anyway, then you'll be in the mode of goodness. Everything is wonderful like that. And if you eat, how do you become transcendental? What do you eat? Prasadam. Got it. And if you eat prasadam, then you're transcendental. So you can choose. It's very easy. Like if you, for example, let's say it was recently Halloween. So let's say you decide to go out on Franklin Street and just show off your costumes. Then it's a mode of ignorance. You've decided to be in the mode of ignorance. So we're making these conscious choices, apart from Krishna consciousness, we're making these conscious choices throughout the day of associating with different modes. And we are responsible. Can't just say that we're just like marionettes or puppets that are controlled by these modes of nature, although they are forcing us to act, but we've chosen which marionetteer or puppeteer is going to control us. So it's very important to be aware of the modes. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, you have so many verses about the material nature, more than verses about the spiritual world. Did you know that? I did an analysis one day, and I don't have the exact number with me, but it was far outnumbering verses about the spiritual world. The different topics of the Bhagavad Gita: time, karma, material energy, supreme personality of Godhead, the soul. And the one with the most verses was material energy. So you have to be able to identify these things. What's in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. Anyway, so you're responsible. So anyway, getting back to the point of determination, sorry for the brief interlude. Then we talked about determination in the mode of ignorance, just procrastination. In other words, it's not determination. You can't get anything done. And what is determination in the mode of passion? Interestingly enough, someone in the mode of passion is quite determined. Verse in Bhagavad Gita is 1834. But that determination by which one holds fast to fruitive results in religion, economic development, and sense gratification is of the nature of passion. Just like you see successful businessmen, I'm not going to mention any names, try not to. You know, anyway, there's a successful businessman who has the biggest car company in the world now. And you'd think he'd be satisfied, you know, a few $1 billion, $100 billion, whatever it is. But then he asks for a salary or whatever for his particular position of billions of dollars. You're never satisfied. Avatam Gyana Maitena Gyani no Nishvarina. There's Bhagavad Gita again. Isn't it? Avatam Gyana Maitena Gyani Nishvarina. Kama Rupena Kondiya. Dushparena Analenacha. One is never satisfied and it burns like fire. The example Prabhupada gave us like throwing petrol into a fire. It further inflames the fire. So, but still, there's so much determination in the mode of passion that one will work so hard day and night just to acquire something. And that's determination. That's really good. Or not good. Depending on your perspective. But that determination can be dovetailed in Krishna consciousness. I mean, I'll start with an example now, even though I was planning to do the examples a little later. Let's take Dhruva. Right? Everybody heard of Dhruva Maharaj? Dhruva Maharaj was having determination in the mode of passion. What was his determination? I want a kingdom greater than that of Lord Brahma. Ooh. That's pretty passionate. It gets to that point sometimes. Of course, he was doing that out of frustration because he couldn't sit on his father's lap. But such determination. Why? He's a Kshatriya. Kshatriyas are generally controlled by passion. And they make vows, and we're going to get to some of those Kshatriya vows in a second that are due to passion. They make vows that are just like inconceivable. I mean, I could never stop eating or eat leaves or stop breathing like Dhruva Maharaj did. Could you imagine? He stopped breathing. I can't even stop eating. Someone asked me this morning, what's your favorite activity in Krishna consciousness? I said, eating prasadam. Can you imagine if you had to be Krishna conscious, you had to stop eating for a month or something, like, or just eat leaves? You know, people complain if there's not enough paneer in the sabji. Isn't it? What determination we have. Anyway. Did you ever hear that happen? Yeah. And so Dhruva, you know, just determined, stopped everything, just chanting, you know, again, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishna saw him, and then he became purified. So it's not necessarily bad to have determination in the mode of passion if you dovetail it in Krishna's service. And Krishna also says, or the Bhagavatam also says, Akama Sarvakama Mokshakama Dharati Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajeta Purusham Param. What does that mean? Whether one is full of material desires, free of material desires, or desirous of liberation. Of course, free of material desires would be Krishna conscious. And desirous of liberation, moksha kama. Or sarva kama. Sarva kama means you want everything. Never satisfied. One should worship Krishna. So if you happen to be in the mode of passion for some reason, dovetail that in Krishna's service. All right, you want a new house? Go to Radha Golokananda. My dear Radha Golokananda, I want a new house. Then you should give something for a new temple too. Got to show your determination by something practical. Words are cheap. Put your money where, what do they say? Put your money where your mouth is. Anyway. So anyway, so there are instances where the mode of passion can be utilized, dovetailed in Krishna consciousness. Free of material desires, desires of liberation. I mean, just like Krishna says in the Gita, what does he say? Chatur vidha bhajanti mam. People come to him for different reasons, 4 different reasons, categories. They're looking for wealth. Means you're asking Krishna for something. They're in distress. They're inquisitive. Or they're looking for knowledge. People come for those reasons. And eventually, like Dhruva Maharaj says in the Hari Bhakti Shuddhaya, that I was looking for some pieces of broken glass, and now I have found a beautiful gem or diamond. So eventually, oh my God, I was asking for the wrong thing, and here's Krishna. Krishna is so much more attractive than anything, infinitely more attractive. So, anyway, so that's mode of passion. Okay, and now we go to the mode of goodness, material mode of goodness. So one is determined. Why are they determined in the mode of goodness? Basically, let me read. O son of 1833, O son of Prita, that determination is unbreakable, which is sustained by steadfastness in yoga practice, and which thus controls the activities of the mind, the life, and the senses. Determination in the mode of goodness. So yoga practice basically means you're approaching one of the aspects of the absolute, Brahmiti, Paramatmeti, Bhagwaniti, Shabdite, which is the impersonal aspect, the localized aspect, Lord in the heart, or Krishna. And you're very determined because, as we'll find out later on, Lord Kapiladev says, because you want to get out of the material world. Because there's devotional service in the 3 modes of nature. I can actually read that now. This is Lord Kapiladev discusses this too. Anyway, so that's the mode of material goodness. You want to get liberated. So anyway, we'll get to that in a second. So those are the 3 modes. So what's the 4th mode? It's Vishuddha Sattva. That one just wants to please Krishna. That's Vishuddha Sattva. That's determination. And you do it out of love. Therefore, what we're teaching in the Krishna conscious movement is called Bhakti Yoga. The yoga of love. Like Prabhupada, originally during our Sunday programs, which I don't do anymore, he would advertise the Sunday feast as a love feast. Of course, the people who were attracted to coming, generally, the Westerners, because there weren't a lot of people from India at that particular juncture, they came because love feast meant something different to them than bhakti. I'm not going to describe what it meant to them. And so Prabhupada advertised like that. It was a love feast because we're offering prasadam, they're making advancement in devotional service. And so, yeah, that's love. But on the pure devotional platform, when the devotee is absorbed in the Vishuddha Sattva, then love just impels him to do something. Just like even in the material world, perverted reflection, according to Krishna in the Gita, 15th chapter. In the material world, sometimes people fall in love. And they're impelled to do something. They're forced. They act even crazy. So sometimes you see a pure devotee who goes into trance or starts dancing in ecstasy, and people from the external point of view will think, this is crazy. Because it's a symptom of love. So it's very similar to the reflection in the material world, where someone falls in love and people think they're crazy. Just like the story of Mukunda, who was one of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates. he was giving advice to a Muslim king, and the Muslim king was being fanned by a peacock feather, or peacock fan, and he saw the peacock fan, and it reminded him of Krishna, because Krishna wears a peacock feather. And he doesn't wear a peacock, he wears a peacock feather. So anyway, then he fell down in ecstasy from this high position in which he was talking to the Muslim governor. And the governor rushed down and he said, "What's the problem? What's the problem?" He says, "I have epilepsy." So the governor knew better than that. It was a symptom of ecstasy. So you find very similar symptoms. So, all right. So now we talk about the three modes of nature. We cover that. So now we're going to try to figure out what mode of nature. First of all, we'll tell the story of a particular determination of a particular individual, and we'll try to figure out what mode of nature that determination was coming from. Okay. First, his grandfather Bhishma, who vowed, he made many different vows or promises or resolutions, New Year's resolutions. But let's take one of them or maybe two of them. One day he vowed to kill the Pandavas the next day with 5 arrows, because Duryodhana went to him and said, "You're not fighting very seriously." So he decided, "I'm going to kill the Pandavas." Next day, he picked 5 arrows. Of course, Krishna was more intelligent than him, and Krishna arranged that Arjuna would come and beg those 5 arrows later on, which were in the care of Duryodhana, but that's a different part of the story. So where did that vow come from? What mode of nature? Anybody have any ideas? Mode of passion. Why? Because it was impelled by pride. Because Duryodhana was insulting him, and therefore he was very prideful. And practically all the ones that I can think of Grandfather Bhishma's vows were actually done because of mode of passion. Really, practically all of them. Because in the mode of passion, sometimes you don't think about future repercussions. You'll vow to do something. And even we find Arjuna making vows. Of course, Arjuna's a pure devotee. This is a pastime. I have to clarify this. But we find Arjuna making vows that were done from passion that were ridiculous, and even Krishna chastised him for making those vows. Okay, we'll take one or two of those vows. One vow was when Arjuna vowed to kill Jayadratha the next day, because Jayadratha had indirectly been responsible for the death of Abhimanyu, because he was able to hold off all the Pandavas, the 4 Pandavas, while Arjuna was away, and then Abhimanyu was killed by a group of the Maharathas or Atirathas. So Arjuna said, "I'm going to kill Jayadratha the next day, or else I'm going to enter into the fire." And then, so what mode of nature is that? I already said. Passion. Because it was if it was ignorance, it was, all right, I don't have to fulfill that vow today. Ignorance would be just like, all right, I made so many promises. Promises are made to be what? Broken. You ever hear that? Or sometimes when I was young, we would cross our fingers. So, yeah, I promise. Like that. So that's mode of ignorance. So Arjuna vowed to kill, and Krishna said, "What did you make this vow without consulting me for?" And then so Krishna had to really protect him. And we all know the story. At the end of the day, Krishna caused the sun to apparently disappear. And so everybody was very happy on the other side. And Jayadratha came out and said, "Ah ha ha, gotcha. Now you have to kill yourself." isn't it? And he was out there right in the open, and Krishna said to Arjuna after he made the sun come out again, okay, chop his head off, cause the head to fly into the lap of his father. His father had actually taken a vow to Lord Shiva, and he got the benediction that whoever caused his son's head to fall to the ground would have his own head split into a million pieces, or he'd self-immolate. So many vows there. So that's the mode of passion. And then Arjuna got in trouble because of that, or could have gotten in trouble. And then, another story in the Bhagavatam, so you see it. We have to avoid these passionate vows, even though they can be used in Krishna consciousness, as I said about Dhruva. But there was another time Arjuna vowed to protect the sons of a Brahmana. The story's there in the Krishna book. And he wasn't able to do that. And he said, if I can't protect the sons of a Brahmana from being killed, I'm going to kill myself. And Krishna had to save him again. Krishna had to take the trouble of putting Arjuna on his chariot and piercing through the coverings of the material universe, going to see the Mahavishnu, just to save Arjuna from committing suicide. That's the danger with passionate vows. I mean, there's a great danger. Okay, here's another vow. Lord Ramchandra vowed Ekapatni Vrata. That's transcendental. He's God. You think he's in the mode of material goodness? Now, if you vow like that, it's probably goodness. Or out of fear. One of the two. So, yeah, it's Vishuddha Sattva. That's Vishuddha Sattva. That's purity. Then we have Parikshit Maharaj who vowed to fast and not sleep for 7 days. What mode is that in? That's Vishuddha Sattva. It's Vishuddha Sattva. Very interesting. So there's so many examples of vows which I wrote down here. And here's another one. The gopis taking a vow to worship Kachayani. That's Vishuddha Sattva because they wanted Krishna. Okay, let's take an ordinary girl. I'm not going to look at any of you there. So, who performs the Kachayani Vrat? Not for Krishna. Passion. Or if she wants a good devotee husband, then it could be goodness. It depends on the object. Or if she just wants to enjoy. Anyway, it's still passion. So, all right. Haridas Thakur, 192 rounds a day. Vishuddha Sattva. Very interesting. But in all these cases, they had a Dhrida Vrata, as Krishna talks about in the Gita. But we're interested in the Dhrida Vrata, the firm determination that comes about from Vishuddha Sattva. Another 2 or 3. Hiranyakashipu. That's passion with a touch of ignorance. Yeah, it's not completely passion, but it's really determination. And Dhruva Maharaj we already talked about. And Visvamitra Muni, who wanted to become a Brahmin. That's passion. There's passion, but because there was some ignorance there too, he wasn't able to complete his vow all the time. As we know, his vow got impeded in many cases. Menaka comes, she rings her ankle bells, and he goes, Jai, Haribol. And then for years, he forgets about his firm determination. A bird passes stool on his head. He burns the bird to ashes. Ramba comes. He burns her. Not burns. Yeah, same thing. Burns her. And then he just keeps losing it and losing it and losing it because it's not really all passion. It's actually it's actually a little bit of ignorance there. So you find these mixed motivations like that. So, okay. So then we get to the point, because time's running out. How does it apply to us? I mean, what vows are we taking? How can we fulfill these particular vows? I mean, of course, we do have the vows of the four regulator principles. Everybody knows them. No meat, fish, reg, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. And those are initiated. You chant 16 rounds. Or if you're not initiated, you vow to chant a certain number of rounds a day. So how can we fulfill these particular vows and have this determination? And of course, let's look at the quality of devotees who are determined first. There's this interesting verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Again, I always quote Bhagavad Gita. It's my favorite book, actually. What? Yeah, that was one verse I was going to quote. You have to say Atmaga Buddha Ekeha Kuranandana Voshat. But there's another verse that I was also thinking of, 244. Bhogaishvarya Prasaktanam. Yeah, so we have to be careful about bhoga. That doesn't mean unoffered food. That means contemplating sense objects. Another verse, Jayato Vishak Pumsam Sangostesha Pajayate. That means when one contemplates sense objects, you get attached to them. You get attached. You get lusty. You get angry. And, eventually you lose your intelligence. And you fall down the material whirlpool. So there's certain things we can learn. But on the positive side, we see in Bhagavad Gita 9th chapter, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha tradavrata namasyantas chamam bhakja nityayukta pasate. That if we're always chanting Krishna's glories, that helps us. It's always chanting Krishna's name, what kirtanya sadahari. And that will actually help us maintain this determination. And also, as I mentioned before, picking and choosing our association. Who we associate with, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Satrakoi, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy, or Mahat Sevam, who we serve, Ahurvi Muktais, Tamodwaram, Yoshitam, Sangi Sangam. And also, giving up all, of course, we should be doing this, sinful thoughts and activities. There's another verse in Bhagavad Gita that talks about this, 7:28. Yesham Twandagatam Papam Kinanam Punya Karmanam Devandwan Bhajanti Mam Dridavata. Okay. So it says that if one gives up all connection with things that are vikarmic, I want to use the word sinful as, it's such a Christian word there. Vikarmic words, activities that have negative repercussions, then that'll help us develop determination. And then also, ultimately understanding that Krishna will help us if we ask him for help. Even if we're lacking that determination, then Krishna will carry what we lack. He'll preserve what we have. Another verse, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam. Who knows the rest of it? Ye Janak Paripasate. Esham Najabiyukta Mam Yogikshem Vahamyam. For those who are devoted to me, I will carry what they, I'll give them that determination. And I'll preserve what they have. Krishna personally will do that, as the story goes. Krishna personally does that for his devotee. So all these things are reassuring. And actually, one thing I want to talk about that particular verse. Prabhupada tells a story in this regard about the sparrow and Garuda. If for those of you who don't know that story, once upon a time there was a sparrow, a little bird. And this little bird, somehow or other, his egg fell in the ocean. And the ocean was carrying the egg away, and it was very attached to his egg. That was his baby. And so the little sparrow said, I'm going to dry the ocean up. Impossible. And he started to do that, but he showed such great determination that Garuda, the bird carrier of Lord Vishnu, came down and he threatened the ocean. I don't know if he actually dried it, but he threatened it because he could actually swallow the ocean. And the bird got his egg back. So in the same way, Krishna will always carry what we lack. And so, but in order to do that, we have to have devotion. We have to be trying for Vishuddha Sattva. And I was thinking about this as I was thinking about the class, how to have the determination to hear when we chant. Because this is a common question, probably the most common question I get from people, is how do I keep my mind from wandering when I'm chanting? You know, I'm thinking about everything else, like what I'm going to eat today, you know, how I hate that person. You know, it's just Chanchala Imanaha Krishna. Isn't it? The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, and to control it is more difficult than controlling the winds. So, how to do that? And I was actually thinking about that in regard to japa and my own japa, that generally when we chant japa, we don't put our heart into it. We actually chant because we're supposed to or whatever like that. You know, it's called niyamagraha. So we should be thinking as we're chanting that this is actually a love song to Krishna. We're offering to Krishna when we're doing not only japa, of course, but when we're doing kirtan, we're doing it to please Krishna. And this, of course, relates to the 11th verse in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the first chapter. Anyabi lashita shunyam gyanakarma navratam anukuyena krishna nushelana bhakti. That devotional service, pure devotional service, is described, first of all, in a negative way. You know, it's devoid of any sort of self-centered interest. But in a positive way, it's active, doing what Krishna wants, and doing it with devotion to please Krishna. So there has to be that personal, we're personalists. And many times we're chanting japa like impersonalists. You know, this is my practice. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. But we should be thinking, I'm connecting directly with Krishna. And as we're doing that, then we're actually entering into the Vishuddha Sattva. And then we're getting that determination from the Vishuddha Sattva, which is really nice. And so, in order to do that, what I often recommend with japa is that before chanting, we make a sankalpa, which is, again, the determination, a vow, or promise. Or even when we get into New Year's, we can make a sankalpa to think like that when we're chanting japa. We make a sankalpa, you know, why am I chanting? And if we really want to be in the Vishuddha Sattva platform, you know, maybe we're in the mode of passion, you know. I'm chanting because, I mean, I remember one time I was chanting because I was having kidney stone pain. Yeah, to be honest. And I was chanting, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. I wasn't thinking, Krishna, I love you. I was thinking, Krishna, take away the pain. So at least I was connecting. Probably the best japa I've ever chanted in my life. Most focused japa, that is. But, you know, so we make a sankalpa, you know, determination, vow, promise. I am going to try to think of pleasing Krishna while I'm chanting. That's Vishuddha Sattva. And then your determination becomes even more fixed in the mode of goodness, even more fixed, obviously, in the mode of passion. And so it's a little secret in Krishna consciousness. So we should all think about promises, vows, determination, and try to connect them with pleasing Krishna. And in this way, we can make rapid progress and be happy. You know, what's the use of making rapid progress if you're not happy? Prabhupada said, the business of the leaders of the Krishna conscious movement is to make sure that everybody is jolly. And secondly, getting enough prasadam. Prabhupada said that's the business of leaders. So, anyway, so this is New Year's. Happy New Year. Of course, New Year's is this week, so I thought I'd just lead up to New Year's with this particular type of understanding. So anyone have any questions or comments? Kapurvaji. Yeah, that's Purvaji asked the question, he liked what I was saying about japa. Could I say a little bit more about putting one's heart into it? That's something from the heart. You really have to be consciously thinking, Krishna, I want to please you. I want to please you. Or I want to please you. Let me do this for your pleasure. You know, oftentimes we do activities. I mean, even kirtan, we may do activities sometimes in kirtan just because we like to jive. I don't know if you know jive. Anyway, whatever. Sorry. Or dancing. If we do it for the pleasure of Krishna, it's so much more pleasurable. I mean, it's transcendental at that particular point. I mean, obviously, whatever reason you're dancing and chanting for, fantastic, do it. You get purified. Like we mentioned, akama, sarvakama, moksha, kama, dharati. But just trying to put that thought in our mind, or begging Krishna for that thought. That, you know, or you're dressing the deities. You know, there's many activities we do here. Or even you're at home, at work, whatever you're doing. You know, I talked about the devotional activities that are just very central. But we're doing a lot of other things. You know, driving a car. If you're thinking, I'm doing this as an offering to you. And Krishna actually says this in the Gita, isn't it? Yat kuroshi yadasnashi yajdahoshi dudasya. Yata pasashi kontiya tat kurishwa mararpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you offer, should be done as an offering to me. Offering to me means, to Krishna, of course, means with love. Bhaktimama bhijanati yamanyas jasmi tatvataha. Sorry if I'm using too many Sanskrit verses. But these are common verses. I can only be known by devotion. Bhaktimam abhijanati yamanyas jasmi tatvataha. Only be known in truth by devotion. So Krishna consciousness is very easy. You just give your heart to Krishna. You know, Ainanda tanuja kinkanam. I'm your servant. Patitamam vishamay bhavam buddha. Anyway, that's Lord Chaitanya's verse. You know, I'm your servant at kinkanam. I've fallen down in this horrible material world. Please pick me up as one of the out of picture lotus feet. Anyway, coming, you chant from the heart. I mean, sometimes you see great devotees like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they actually hold their japa beads just like in their heart like that. I'm not saying that's what you should do, but it's just like, it's really indicative. You know, just, you see them like this. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So any other questions? Yes.
Neophyte stage when a sadhaka or a devotee is starting on a bhakti and they have certain psychophysical nature and attachments and conditioning.
Yeah.
So even though hearing from sadhus like your kind self and reading from Srila Prabhupada, no, we understand what is the better or higher.
Yeah.
One doesn't have spiritual potency or power to make that progress. So what are few things from your experience?
Well,
which
Krishna is so attractive. I mean, you have to hear more about Krishna. I mean, he's attractive. Even if you're an abject materialist, he's attractive. Basically, unless you're just envious. I mean, just look at the deities or hear about his past life. I mean, even before I came to the Krishna consciousness movement, I just heard about Krishna stealing butter and feeding it to the monkeys. And I just couldn't keep the thought out of my mind when I heard about it, when I read that in Prabhupada's Krishna book. So that means basically hear more. Shrushro Shradanasha Vasudeva Katavraji Shanmahat Sevya Vipra Punya Put Tirdana Shekana. Just hear more about Krishna. Or appreciate Krishna's devotees. You know, love for the devotees is non-different from love for Krishna. You know, here's this great soul. Here's Prabhupada, you know. That's one of the first things I recommend new people to do is read Prabhupada Lilamrita or the biography of Divine Grace Shilpa. But do it. I'm not suggesting passion motivation. Although, you know, people do have that. I want to get free of this material. That's mode of goodness, material mode of goodness. Or what is it? Om Jai Jagadisha Hari Swami. You know, I don't do Satyanarayan Katha, don't ask me. But that's mode of passion. So, okay. I think, yeah. One more question.
Now, Maharaj, thank you so much for the wonderful class. So, Maharaj, my question is, how do we dovetail our material desires towards Krishna? For example, if I'm desiring to have maybe iPad, some 20 version or something, my desire may be like this. I need to enjoy the features and the facilities. And
Use the iPad for Krishna.
And maybe that my personal enjoyment desires may be around 75 to 80%. And I'll be like saying, oh Krishna, definitely I'll see your YouTube videos related to you, or I'll hear ISKCON design tree. And that may be like around 10, 15%.
Obviously, we have to
how
be
do I
practical. But you, so
dovetail?
far as possible, use it for Krishna.
So is it still dovetailing?
Yeah, I desired a new phone, and I got one. Before I went to India this year, I desired a Pixel 9. So anyway. You know, we use things for Krishna, and we have certain propensities. Just like if you're a Kshatriya, you're going to want. We were hearing this morning in class how Arjuna wanted a new bow from Agni, and he got his Gandiva bow. So it's all right. And I'm sure he showed off with the bow a lot too. I mean, we don't want to get too like guilty about things. You know, we got these desires, but basically, try your best to be thinking lovingly while you're doing whatever you're doing. That's the point. But I mean, I don't want to. Yeah, we shouldn't be guilty about other desires. Eventually, we'll love Krishna so much. They will fade into the background, just like when one is focusing an old type of camera. You would focus it in such a way you'd see the object that you're taking a picture of, and everything else would be out of focus. That's called bokeh, in case you don't know the technical word. Isn't it? Everything else is out, because he has a camera. He knows. Everything else is out of focus, you know. And it'll happen. We have faith, you know, that it takes time. It takes time. That's called raso varjam raso prasa palandrisra divartade, a higher taste. Okay, I think that's it, and we'll turn it over to Aditya Narayan Prabhu, who's our boss. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for such a wonderful class to prepare our mind to end the year. And I was thinking that, you know, yes, we have inspiration at this point. We are inspired by Maharaj's class. But can we take a moment and just internally think, okay, this is such a wonderful class, and particularly Maharaj ended the whole class with the japa, how we can improve our japa. So can we all take a moment and just like offer a prayer to Radha Goloka and think of like in 25, what would be a good resolution? What is something that we would like to take? And also Maharaj mentioned the modes in which we take. So something, a nice offering to Krishna, whether that's I want to increase my number of rounds, increase the quality of the rounds, or offer more seva at the temple. Every week I want to come and do a particular seva at the temple. Some kind of resolution that will bring us closer to Krishna. So we'll just take a quick moment, and we all can, on those who are on that side of the room, can also look at Shri Shri Radha Golokananda, offer a prayer, and then we'll make a few announcements and go down for prasadam. Hare Krishna. So when we go down for prasadam, maybe find a devotee whom you can share your resolution with. It's always good when you share, then you have someone who is accountable and they can ask you, are you following up with your vows? So please do that. And also few announcements. As I mentioned earlier, this week on December 31st, last day of the year, we'll have Kirtans in Temple Room from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. So please do join us. We'll be offering our gratitude to Shri Shri Radha Golokananda, chanting in front of them. So 31st night, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And on January 1st, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we also will have lunch prasadam, and also we'll have a Govinda's food court. So both December 31st and January 1st, we have programs in the temple. Please do join us. So it goes from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Okay. And also January 1st, it's the first day of the year. So if anyone would like to sponsor any aspect of the services during the day, we'll have like regular services starting with Mangla Aarti and then Darshan Aarti, Rajbhog Aarti. If you'd like to sponsor any of these Aartis, you can sponsor for $108. And also we'll have a big lunch prasadam, Rajbhog prasadam. There'll be a nice opulent offering. So if you'd like to sponsor the entire fees, that's $301. Right? So these are some options, but whatever you're inspired to do, please consider January 1st is a very auspicious day to make an offering, a sponsorship for the pleasure of Shri Shri Radha Golokananda. Okay. Also, we are in the last phase of our Gita Marathon. So this entire month in December, we had our Gita Jayanti on December 11th, right? We read the entire shloka. And December 15th, we had the Yagya. So all around the world, we are in the last, we go until January 6th, I think, where we actually focus on distributing Bhagavad Gitas. So if you have not got a chance to either sponsor a full case of Bhagavad Gita, which is $120 for 16 hardbound or 24 soft Bhagavad Gitas, if you have not got an opportunity, please do it today. That way you are a part of this marathon where we are actually sharing that wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. It's so amazing, like Maharaj said that, Bhagavad Gita is his favorite book, and entire class, it was like shloka after shloka from Bhagavad Gita. So it's so amazing. So we want to share this wisdom. So when you sponsor a case, you can either take the books, and we can give you in any of the languages you prefer. We have all the Indian local languages, Spanish, whatever language you want. And otherwise, if you want, we can also distribute them on your behalf. But if anyone has not got a chance, this is the opportunity. Be a part of this global campaign to make Earth smart again. That's actually the caption for our year. Make Earth smart again. By actually giving the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. Right, so we'll be downstairs near the prasadam table. We'll have a book table. So please stop by. You can ask any questions. You can collect your Gitas. And anyone who has sponsored and not collected your Gitas, please stop by the book table, pick up your Gitas. You can sponsor a few Gitas, whatever you like to do. But please be a part of this campaign and help us distribute. Our global goal is 4.2 million copies of Bhagavad Gita. Right? So please help us towards this goal. Okay. Yeah, I think those are announcements. So when we go downstairs, we also have a birthday celebration. Today is little Shama's birthday. So we'll go down and we'll have cake cutting ceremony for Shama, and then we'll have dinner prasadam. And also again, we'd like to thank Krishna Keshav Prabhu and his whole family for cooking the Sunday feast today. And they came all the way from Australia to cook a Sunday feast. And also, as Maharaj made the point in the